You are standing at the edge of a Caribbean island that you own. Not rent, not lease. Own. The sun is dropping behind Antigua's hills, and the light is turning gold over a cricket ground that has your name on the scoreboard, your name on the grandstand, your name carved into the concrete. 3,000 people are in those seats. They flew here from London, from Houston, from Caracas, from Toronto. They came because you invited them. They came because when Alan Stanford throws a party, you come. It is November 1st, 2008. You are standing on the grass in a cream linen suit. A black briefcase is handcuffed to a security guard's wrist. Inside that briefcase is $20 million in cash. And in 4 hours, you're going to hand it to the winning cricket team on international television in front of 300 million viewers. 300 million. The England national cricket team is in that stadium. The England and Wales Cricket Board signed your contract. You flew your private helicopter onto the outfield at Lord's, the most sacred ground in the history of the sport, and you landed on the grass, and you walked out in front of the cameras, and you put $20 million on a table, and you watched grown men from the oldest cricket institution on earth stare at your money like it was the face of God. That was June. This is November. And tonight, under these lights, in this stadium that you built with investors' money, you are the king of two worlds. Texas boy, Caribbean night, Sir Alan Stanford. Emphasis on the sir. But there is something you are not thinking about tonight. You should be. It is already in motion. It has been in motion for months. Two men named Charles Rawl and Mark Tidwell walked out of your Houston offices 11 months ago. They quit. They filed a lawsuit. They went to the SEC and they told investigators what they had seen inside your operation. The numbers that didn't match, the investment portfolio that didn't exist, the certificates of deposit that were backed by nothing but your ability to keep the new money coming in. The SEC has those names on a file. The file has your name on the cover, but you don't know how close it is yet. Tonight, the briefcase is still locked. Tonight, the lights are still on. Tonight, you are still Sir Alan Stanford. To understand how a boy from Mexia, Texas ends up handing a suitcase full of stolen money to a cricket team on live television, we have to go back. All the way back. Mexia, Texas. Population, 6,000. You were born there on March 24th, 1950. The middle of the American century. The year the Korean War starts. The year Sinatra releases The House I Live In. Mahia is a flat, dry town in Limestone County where the oil wells gave out and the people stayed anyway. Your father, James Stanford, is an insurance agent who will eventually become the mayor of Mahia. Your mother, Sammy, is a nurse. They divorce in 1959. You're 9 years old. You and your brother pack into a car with your mother and move to Fort Worth. Your mother marries 3 more times. You grow up watching men come and go. You grow up watching your father build something modest and respectable in a small town, and you look at that and you think, that is not enough. That will never be enough. You go to Baylor University in Waco on a finance degree. Class of 1974. You graduate and you do what a lot of ambitious young Texans do in the 1970s. You try things. You open a bodybuilding gym in Waco. It fails. You do not panic. Failure is information. Failure tells you where the money isn't. And if you know where the money isn't, you just have to find where it is. The money is in real estate. The early 1980s. The Texas oil economy has just detonated. The price of crude collapses. Banks fail. Houston neighborhoods that were worth millions are suddenly worth nothing. Whole subdivisions sit empty. The savings and loan crisis is chewing through Texas like fire through dry grass. You go to Houston with your father, and you buy. You buy distressed properties at 20 cents on the dollar. You buy the things that other people are running from. You buy the silence, the vacancy, the financial wreckage of the oil bust. And then you wait. And when the market turns, you sell. You make your first real money not in spite of the disaster, but because of it. That is the first thing the disaster teaches you. Panic is an opportunity for someone who doesn't panic. But there's something else the Texas real estate play teaches you, something that goes deeper, something that becomes the blueprint for everything that follows. You don't need to understand the underlying asset. You just need to understand the investor's fear and replace it with your confidence. You move to the Caribbean in the mid-1980s. You establish a small bank on the island of Montserrat, Guardian International Bank, in 1985. Montserrat is tiny, off the radar, exactly the way you need it. Then you move operations. In 1986, you form the Stanford Financial Group, and in 1991, you establish Stanford International Bank in Antigua. You have found your island, and you are about to build an empire on sand. But you don't know it yet. Or maybe. And this is the thing that will haunt every inch of this story. Maybe you do. The pitch is simple, almost insultingly simple. You are selling certificates of deposit, CDs, the most boring financial instrument in America. The kind of thing your grandmother kept at a savings bank in 1967. Safe, guaranteed, predictable. You go to sleep knowing the money is there when you wake up. Except yours are better, substantially better. Where an American bank in the 1990s is offering you 3 for maybe 5% on a CD, Stanford International Bank is offering 10, 11, 12%. Guaranteed, year after year. Consistent, reliable, better than anything you will find in the United States. The question nobody asks loudly enough, the question that should have stopped everything, is how? How does a bank on a small Caribbean island consistently beat every major financial institution in the United States by double digits, year after year, through market crashes, recessions, and rate cycles? Your answer is proprietary investment strategy. That is the phrase, proprietary investment strategy. You say it with the calm of a man who has nothing to hide. You say it the way a surgeon says post-operative protocol, with enough authority that the person across the table decides not to ask the follow-up question. The follow-up question is, what is the strategy? The answer is, there is no strategy. There is no investment portfolio. The financial statements of Stanford International Bank are, in the words the SEC will eventually use in their complaint, fictional. The money coming in from new CD investors is paying the returns promised to old CD investors. New money in, old money out. The gap between what you owe and what you have is plugged with your personal spending. Yachts, mansions, private jets, an island, and with bribes to Antiguan regulators who are supposed to be watching you. Leroy King, the head of Antigua's Financial Services Regulatory Commission, is on your payroll. He is receiving payments through a shell company. His job is to make sure that no independent auditor ever gets a real look at Stanford International Bank's books. It works. For 20 years, it works. The first time you cross the line, you tell yourself it's temporary. It is the late 1980s. The bank is small. You're building. The returns you have promised are slightly higher than what the actual portfolio is generating. A gap. Small. Manageable. You will close it next quarter. You will make it up with the next wave of investors. You don't close it. The gap gets wider. James Davis is your chief financial officer. He's been your friend since college. He knows. He is the only other person on earth who knows the full architecture of what you are running. The real books versus the fictional ones. Davis is inside the machine with you. Every year, the machine requires more new money to pay the returns promised to the old money. Every year, the gap between the fiction and the reality grows a little larger. You stop thinking about it as a gap. You start thinking about it as a temporary imbalance. It is just a loan. It is just time. When the portfolio recovers, when the next wave comes in, when the real investments mature, the rationalization is a living thing. It grows with the scheme. By the mid-1990s, you are not just running a bank. You are running a belief system, and the first convert is you. You are the one who tells investors the strategy is real. You're the one who sits across the mahogany table and looks a man in the eye and tells him his retirement savings are safe. You're the one who signs the reports. You're the one who designed the pitch. And you have told it so many times that you have started to believe there is some version of reality in which it is true. This is what makes you different from a common thief. A common thief knows he is stealing. You have constructed an entire cosmology around the idea that you are not. The 1990s. The money comes. It comes from Houston doctors, from Dallas oil executives, from retired military families in San Antonio. It comes from Venezuela. At least $2.5 billion will eventually flow in from Venezuelan investors who believe Stanford International Bank is a conservative, stable alternative to their own volatile economy. It comes from Latin America. It comes from Miami. It comes from Canada. By the late 1990s, you are managing hundreds of millions of dollars. By the early 2000s, that number is billions. You need a face, not just a business, a legend. You build the Stanford Cricket Ground in Antigua. You become the island's largest private employer. In a country of 85,000 people, you are employing thousands. You fund infrastructure. You fund tourism. You own a newspaper, the Antigua Sun. The government of Antigua and Barbuda knights you in 2006. Knight Commander of the Order of the Nation. Sir Alan Stanford. You put that title on everything. You move through the world with the confidence of a man who has manufactured his own legitimacy from raw material. And the raw material is other people's money. The people of Antigua look at the cricket ground, at the bank headquarters with its marble floors and lush landscaping, at the first world wages you pay, and they see a benefactor, a king who chose their island, who believed in them. The SEC's Fort Worth office is watching you. Not loudly, not decisively, but watching. As early as 1997, FINRA, the financial industry regulator, has flagged Stanford Group Company for unusually consistent returns. The returns are too consistent. They don't move with markets. Real investment portfolios breathe with the economy. They gain in bull markets and lose in bear markets. Stanford's CDs never lose. Ever. Year after year, the returns come in like clockwork. That is not how investing works. That is how Ponzi schemes work. But the SEC Fort Worth office files its notes and moves on. The years pass. New staff. New priorities. The Enron scandal in 2002 swallows the SEC's attention in Texas. Stanford remains in the background. Known, watched, but not stopped. Every year, they don't stop you is a year you take as confirmation. You are winning. The paranoia starts slowly. 2003, you are worth over $1 billion on paper. You are expanding into new markets. Stanford Financial Group now has offices across the United States. Houston, Dallas, Miami, New York. Brokerage advisors in those offices are selling your CDs to their clients, to nurses, teachers, veterans, small business owners who have spent 30 years building the kind of retirement account that Alan Stanford's bank will erase. You start traveling more. You are harder to reach. When a journalist asks a question you don't like, you have them managed. When a financial analyst publishes skepticism about your returns, your lawyers write letters. When your own employees in Houston start asking questions about the investment portfolio, about the underlying assets, about where the money is actually going, they are told the portfolio is confidential. Proprietary. Need to know. The lie has grown a skeleton. Muscle. Skin. The lie can now walk around the building and shake hands and give interviews. But at night, in the quiet, you know what the balance sheet says. By 2008, Stanford International Bank has approximately $7 billion in outstanding CD obligations. The actual investment portfolio is worth a fraction of that. The fraction shrinks every time you write a check for a yacht, a mansion, another cricket tournament, another political donation, Another bribe to Leroy King in Antigua. You have been spending investor money on your life for 20 years. You have been lying to 30,000 people for 20 years. And you're about to land a helicopter on the lawn at Lord's cricket ground and put $20 million in a briefcase and act like God himself chose Texan soil to grow his favorite son. June 11, 2008. Lord's cricket ground, London. You descend from the sky. The helicopter settles onto the outfield of the most storied cricket venue on earth. The England and Wales cricket board is standing there. Cameras are rolling, and you walk out with a plexiglass case containing $20 million in cash, 200 stacks of $100 bills, and you sit on a table and you smile. The ECB signs a contract for 5 years of matches, $20 million per match. Winner takes all. The West Indies versus England. Caribbean kings against the former colonial power. You have bought the narrative, the imagery, the rivalry, and the sport itself. And you have paid for it with the retirement savings of a retired schoolteacher in Caracas and a dentist in Memphis and a widow in Baton Rouge. November 1st, 2008. The match is played at your stadium. The Stanford Superstars, led by Chris Gale, destroy England. England is all out for 99. The Superstars chase it down in 12.4 overs without losing a single wicket. Your players win $20 million. You're photographed sitting in the stands with the players' wives. The pregnant wife of England wicketkeeper Matt Pryor is photographed on your lap. It becomes an international incident. You apologize. You walk over to the England dressing room and you apologize. You're completely unconcerned. You have 300 million viewers watching your brand on television. But in November 2008, the financial world is already on fire. Lehman Brothers collapsed in September. The global financial crisis is consuming everything. And investors, frightened, watching their 401(k) evaporate, are starting to ask questions they never asked before. They want their money back. They want to know exactly where it is. The requests are coming in faster than they used to. The CD redemptions are accelerating. And you don't have the money. You have never had the money. You are running the math in your head at night, in the silence after the cricket stadium empties, and the math has always come out the same way. The only thing keeping this alive is new money. New money coming in faster than old money going out. And new money, in November 2008, in the middle of the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression, is slowing down. You can feel the ground shifting beneath you. The cracks are spreading from the foundation up. December 2007, 13 months before the cricket match. Charles Rawl and Mark Tidwell, two financial advisors inside Stanford Group Company's Houston office, resign. They've been seeing things. The returns don't make sense. The investment disclosures are evasive. When they ask for details about what the portfolio actually holds, they get non-answers wrapped in charm. When they push further, they're told to stop pushing. They do not stop. They file a lawsuit against Stanford Financial Group for wrongful interference after they leave. And they go to the SEC and to FINRA, and they tell investigators exactly what they saw, the impossibility of the returns, the lack of transparency, the culture of secrecy around the underlying assets. Rawl will later say, Stanford would still be operating today if they hadn't come forward. The SEC Fort Worth office begins building a file. Inside Stanford's Houston headquarters, whispers are moving through the halls. Laura Pendergast-Holt, your chief investment officer, knows that the portfolio she is supposed to be managing doesn't match the reports being sent to investors. Gilberto Lopez, your chief accounting officer, knows. Mark Court, your global controller, knows. Everybody near the center knows. The lie requires maintenance now. Daily maintenance. The way a levee requires maintenance when the river is rising. You're shoring it up, patching it, redirecting the flow. But the river is rising faster than you can patch. January 2009. The SEC is preparing to move. The SEC's complaint will state, plainly and without ambiguity, Stanford International Bank's financial statements, including its investment income, are fictional. Fictional, not exaggerated, not optimistic, not imprecise. Fictional. You are in Houston when the storm arrives. February 17th, 2009. The SEC and FBI agents are at the Stanford Financial Group headquarters. They are seizing documents, freezing assets. Your companies, Stanford International Bank, Stanford Group Company, Stanford Capital Management, are shut down simultaneously. The SEC issues a civil fraud complaint charging you, James Davis and Laura Pendergast-Holt. Within hours, the phones are ringing in Antigua. Investors are calling. Within a day, hundreds of people are lined up outside the Stanford International Bank headquarters in St. John's, Antigua, demanding their money. Some arrived by private jet. They drove up the lushly landscaped driveway and were told the assets are frozen. In Venezuela, at least $26 million is withdrawn from Stanford Bank branches in 2 days. The Venezuelan government nationalizes the Stanford Bank SA operation. Ecuador ceases locales Stanford branches. 5 Latin American nations take action against Stanford companies within days. 30,000 investors. 100 countries. $7 billion. Gone. You're not in Houston when the SEC moves. You are in Virginia. You're served by FBI agents on February 19th, 2009, in Stafford, Virginia. You surrender. You are charged on 21 counts including fraud, conspiracy, and obstruction. You plead not guilty. You tell Reuters, if the SEC had not come in and disemboweled a living, breathing, strong organization the way they did, there's no question on God's green earth that everyone would have been made whole and we would have had a lot of money left over. You say this with the conviction of a man who has rehearsed the lie so many times it has become theology. Your attorney, Dick DeGuerin, says you will put up the fight of your life. Then everything accelerates in ways you cannot stop. James Davis, your college roommate, your CFO, the man who sat across from you in the back rooms where the Real books lived, pleads guilty. He agrees to cooperate. He will spend the next 3 years telling federal prosecutors everything. Every mechanism, every lie, every number. Every year the gap widened and the two of you looked at each other and chose to keep going. Davis will testify against you at trial. He will sit in that witness box and describe the architecture of the fraud from the inside. In October 2009, the government of Antigua and Barbuda strips you of your knighthood. Sir Alan Stanford, gone. Just Alan Stanford. And then the violence. In September 2009, while in federal detention awaiting trial, you are beaten by another inmate. The attack is severe enough that you are hospitalized. By the time the trial begins, your legal team argues you are suffering from significant cognitive decline resulting from the assault. The trial is delayed, postponed, fought over. It finally begins on January 24th, 2012, in Houston, Texas, before U.S. District Judge David Hittner. 6 weeks of testimony. Prosecutors present evidence that you personally directed the fraud, that you used investor funds to finance your lifestyle, that you made decisions, specific, conscious, documented decisions, to misrepresent the portfolio to investors while spending their money on private jets, yachts, real estate, and a Caribbean operation designed to project wealth you had stolen from the people who trusted you. James Davis takes the stand. He testifies against the man he went to college with. He describes how the two of you ran the fiction for 20 years. He describes the decisions, the mechanics, the rationalizations. On March 6th, 2012, the jury convicts you on 13 of 14 counts. Guide fraud, mail fraud, conspiracy, obstruction of an SEC investigation, conspiracy to commit money laundering. June 14th, 2012, Judge Hittner sentences you to 110 years in federal prison. 110 years. You are 62 years old. The judge reads the sentence, and you become, in that moment, in that courtroom, in that city where you built your American empire, the second largest Ponzi schemer in United States history. Madoff is first at $50 billion. You are second at $7 billion. A podium position you did not want. You are sent to the United States Penitentiary Coleman II in Coleman, Florida. Your scheduled release date, if the math holds, is March 13th, 2103. You will be 153 years old. The court appoints a receiver, Ralph Janvey, to recover what can be recovered. He will eventually recover more than $2.5 billion, including $1.2 billion from Toronto Dominion Bank. It is a fraction of the $7 billion owed. Investors will receive pennies on the dollar. The woman in Caracas who put her savings in your bank. The dentist in Memphis who believed the brochure. The retired couple in Houston who sat across from one of your advisors in a glass-walled office and were told their money was safe. Pennies on the dollar. The Stanford Cricket Ground in Antigua still stands. The buildings of Stanford International Bank still stand across from the airport. When you fly into Antigua today, you can still see his name on the landscape. His absence hangs over the island like a weather pattern that hasn't cleared. He was the largest private employer in a country of 85,000 people. When the empire fell, thousands of Antiguans lost their jobs, their wages, their futures, in a country that had trusted a man from Texas because he showed up with marble floors and first-world salaries and a cricket ground and called himself sir. The people of Antigua were also his victims. They just never got a seat in the lawsuit. James Davis is sentenced to 5 years in prison. Gilberto Lopez, your chief accounting officer, receives 20 years. Leroy King, the Antiguan regulator who took your money and looked the other way, is extradited and faces separate proceedings. A federal judge in Dallas closes the SEC civil case in 2025, 16 years after it was filed, ordering you to pay a $5.9 billion civil fine. You are declared indigent. The fine is a formality. The money does not exist. It never really existed. That was always the point. Here is what you should know about Mexia, Texas. It is still there. Population still around 6,000. Still flat. Still dry. Still the kind of town where a boy with ambition looks at the horizon and decides the horizon is not enough. Your father, James Stanford, lived to be 93 years old. He died in 2021, still in Texas, long after the empire fell and the knighthood was stripped and his son's name had become synonymous with the second largest financial fraud in American history. James Stanford was also on the board of directors of Stanford Financial Group. He was one of the last people to hold the name Stanford with anything other than a subpoena attached to it. You were born in a small Texas town. You wanted to be a king. You became one. And then you found out the thing about kings that the history books always bury in the footnote. The crown doesn't belong to you. It belongs to everyone whose faith you borrowed to put it on your head. And when they want it back, 30,000 of them want it back. All you have left is a metal bunk in Coleman, Florida, a scheduled release date in the year 2103, and a cricket ground in Antigua that still has your name on it. Still, after everything, your name, on the scoreboard, in a country that trusted you. That's the last thing Alan Stanford built that still stands. Not a bank, not an empire, just a name, carved in stone, on a ground, that was paid for with money he stole.